In this go-for-a-punch world in which we live, where we spend our days with SpongeBob SquarePants and our nights strolling London after midnight, you may think you've heard of everything we've yet to find. But there is more unknown in this world than you could possibly imagine. This is lesser-known lost media.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. It is I, your host, Mr. Sean, here with volume 16 of Lesser Known Lost Media. Just letting you know, if I seem a little disheartened during this video, I recorded this video almost until its entirety, and then my audio program glitched and crashed, and I lost everything. So this is take 2. For those of you new to this series, it is the series that is the clear favorite on my channel and the reason I started developing any kind of following at all, and what we do here is we talk about the pieces of lost media that don't get covered on YouTube nearly as often as some of the more famous pieces. I'm gonna keep the intro short because I know you guys want me to get into the posts themselves, so what we do here, if you're new, is I start with 4 family-friendly pieces of lost media, take a brief ad break, and then we get into the final, not safe for work piece of lost media. So let's get started. At number 1, we have Wolf Rock TV, a partially found ABC Deke animated series from 1984. So Wolf Rock TV was an animated series produced by Dick Clark and originally broadcast in 1984 on ABC, with 13 episodes produced and 7 episodes aired. It starred famed radio DJ Wolfman Jack, real name Robert Weston Smith, as a fictionalized cartoon version of himself. So the show featured animated segments as well as live action music video and interviews with musicians. And it also starred Wolfman Jack alongside 3 teenagers, Sarah, Sunny, and Ricardo, and their pet parrot named Bopper, who was likely the comic relief. They also featured a manager named Mr. Morris, who apparently didn't like the rock music that Wolfman Jack showcases. It was re-aired in 1989 alongside a fellow music-themed animated series, Kid Video, but it was known as the Wolf Rock Power Hour. Now, while neither one of these series ever received official home media releases, likely due to how expensive it would have been to license all of the music and music videos. But Kid video episodes do survive on unlicensed VHS recordings, while there are no known viewable copies of full Wolf Rock TV episodes. In fact, outside of some rare merchandise, animation cells, and a few promo reels, the only one of which even features anyone in the show's actual voice, you get to hear Wolfman Jack voice his character, we really don't have anything on this show. So if you think you have an old VHS copy of this show somewhere in your attic, fish it out. We'd love to see it. Coming in at number 2, we've got Beanball Benny, a lost build of a canceled Sega Genesis beat-em-up game from 1991. So Beanball Benny was developed by Microsmiths and set to be published by New Vision Entertainment for the Sega Genesis. It was canceled due to New Vision closing its doors, which meant that the game was canceled along with the other 2 titles they worked on, The Swamp Thing and Guardian Angel Safety Patrol. But in March of 2010, BMPE Drums from the Digital Press Forum found a prototype of the game, shared some screenshots, and uploaded a video to YouTube. Little else is known about the title, though it was shown at a summer 1991 CES event, and it was also advertised that year. But, they have not dumped the prototype. But from the video, we can see that there are both driving and walking segments, and also from the ad, we can take that this guy, Beanball Benny, has to save Zunieville, and tries to capture Ramon and his fumbling gang of crooks. Armed only with his trusty trick taxi and bazooka-like pitching arm, Benny uses his deadly beanball to KO the crooks. And I wish this game had gotten made. I had a Sega Genesis back in the day, a game where you drive around in a taxi and also run around on the streets throwing baseballs at crooks. Sounds like a pretty fun game. I definitely think that if the rights can still be bought, if any materials still exist, I think there needs to be game companies that go around buying up to the rights to these old canceled projects in video games and coming out with new modern video games based on the ideas. I think that could be a pretty fun, kind of like the old Castle films Dark Castle films who would remake William Castle's old movies. Like, I think there could be something fun with this, but sadly I have neither the capital nor the programming knowledge to be able to do that. So, but hey, free idea for anyone who wants it. Coming in at number 3, we have one that I don't know if it fully fits my guidelines, but while it's definitely not lesser known at this point, it's definitely lesser talked about, because people aren't yet considering it necessarily a piece of lost media, but ultimately it very much is. And that is, of course, the 2022 Batgirl movie, the lost HBO Max superhero film. So we were all looking forward to this film. It was going to be about the origin stories of Barbara Gordon / Batgirl, played by Leslie Grace. It was going to star J.K. Simmons as her dad, James Gordon. It was going to have Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne / Batman, the second best Batman of all time, the best one, of course, being the Kevin Conroy animated Batman. And it was even going to also feature Brendan Fraser as the villain, Firefly. Now, while I don't really know anything about Leslie Grace, I'm sure she would have done a great job. The inclusion of J.K. Simmons, Michael Keaton, and Brendan Fraser alone make me desperately want to see this film. Unfortunately, after Warner Brother merged with Discovery to become Warner Brothers Discovery, it was announced that they had canceled the release of the film on HBO Max or theatrically, despite its planned release in 2022, making it effectively dead. It was stated that, it simply didn't work and went against the new desire and mandate from CEO David Zaslav to make DC Films big theatrical event films, and that watchers of the initial test screenings said it looked cheaper than other films, this probably being due to the fact that they hadn't put in all the effects yet. It wasn't done, but they wouldn't let them. The directors tried to recover some of the footage on their cell phones, but it just didn't work out. And I think this is an important piece to include, because it shows us that something can become lost media instantly. It's not that it's like, oh, it was a long time ago, it faded into obscurity. This just happened, and this is lost to us. And I think, people demanded the Snyder Cut for so long. Demand the whatever cut is still here. Demand that they finish Batgirl. I mean, they want these films to be big theatrical events. Well, from what I hear, that's what they tried to do with Blue Beetle, and it sucked. So, it sounds like this film had a lot of raw acting talent in it, and I'm sure it would have been very enjoyable. So, let's make our voices known. Let's keep Batgirl from staying lost. Let's make this found media. Call to action, people. Coming in at number 4, we have the Charlie Horse Music Pizza, a partially lost PBS Kids Lamb Chops play-along spin-off series from 1998 to 1999. So do any of you remember Lamb Chops play-along? I certainly grew up on it. My mom grew up on it. I think it started all the way back in the 50s. Well, this was a spin-off to it. The Charlie Horse Music Pizza was a spin-off of Lamb Chops play-along that premiered on PBS Kids in 1998. The show tells the story of a seaside pizzeria run by Sherry Lewis and her puppet friends Charlie Horse, Lamb Chop, and Hush Puppy, alongside some new characters that were created for the show. The show emphasized music education, and each episode taught a specific lesson about music. The show was canceled in the fall of 1998 after Sherry Lewis died of complications from ovarian cancer, which was really sad. She was only 65 at the time. The show is extremely hard to find on the internet. Of the 23 episodes made of the show, only 13 exist in full, and ones exist only partially. Other than these episodes, no other episodes exist on the internet. Wikipedia does claim that the Sony Wonder released VHS tapes of the show, but there is no evidence of these tapes that can be found online, meaning that this claim could be false. Oh boy, a false claim on Wikipedia. I am shocked. But on July 7th of 2018, Lost Media Wiki user Peter uploaded 10 complete episodes of the show on Archive and MySpleen. I just think that it's interesting that this show was archived so poorly. I mean, Sherry Lewis, very famous, along with her three characters from Lamb Chop's Play Along, which is a show that, to my understanding, is very well documented, and that this show only stopped because Sherry Lewis herself died, not because it was unpopular, leading me to believe that it should have been much better. There should have been a lot more efforts to save the material than there seemed to have been. So again, if you have a VHS tape of this show, be sure to upload it online. We'd all love to see it. Alright guys, so before we get into the final piece of not safe for work lost media, please allow me a moment to talk about my business, Chimera Miniatures. At Chimera Miniatures, I make all forms of both safe for work and not safe for work custom miniatures, whether it's my repainted not safe for work HeroClix or one of my many kit bashed tabletop miniatures. We've got something for you. One of my most recent creations here is, I call him the Cyborg Shinobi. If you've seen my work before, you know cyborgs are a specialty of mine, but that's not all I make. We also have this Goliath warrior, and hey look, this is a sexy plant lady known as an Aileron. All of my items can be found on my eBay, my Etsy, or my Mercari, and also be sure to check those out, not just for the miniatures, but as well as the various collectibles I sell, old action figures, Squishmallows, anime figures. I think I even have a Micro Machine set up there for sale. So be sure to check that out. It's a great way to support the channel. If you would like to support the channel monetarily but don't wish to make a purchase, you can always go to the Patreon, where we do have $3, $5, and $10 tiers, or if you just want to support the channel, one of the best and easiest things you can do is like, subscribe, and give a comment. At the time of recording this, we are just a little bit over 440 subscribers, so help us get to that 500 subscriber mark, and we'll be able to go ahead and do another free miniature giveaway. And with all that being said, guys, let's get into our final piece of Not Safe for Work Lost Media. At number 5, we have Leslie Van Houten's Sexual Letter Correspondence, lost letter communication between Manson family member and an unknown double murderer pre-2016. Leslie Van Houten is a convicted murderer most famous for being a member of the Manson family. On the 10th of August 1969, she participated in the murders of Lino and Rosemary LaBianca, which resulted in her and several other family members being convicted and sentenced to death on the 29th of March of 1971, which was later reduced to a life sentence. Van Houten was incarcerated at the California Institute of Women for 53 years, with over 20 attempts for parole being denied over the years. During her time incarcerated, Van Houten was known to have been in a 15-year sexual letter relationship with an unknown double murderer. So basically, she was part of the cult run by super creepoid Charles Manson, and he was the one who commanded his followers to commit the murders of Sharon Tate and then later the LaBiancas. And Leslie Van Houten was one of the people involved and convicted of those crimes. Originally, she was sentenced to death, and then that was commuted to life without parole when California abolished the death penalty. She was retried and was then given a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 7 years after the retrial. Now, during her incarceration, Van Houten was repeatedly recommended for parole, but her requests were repeatedly denied or overruled by the governor of California until her release in 2023, this year. In April of 2016, the California Parole Board recommended Van Houten's parole request be granted, but during the parole hearing, Sharon Tate's sister, Deborah, stated she believed Van Houten had not reformed since her time in the Manson family and still had a proclivity for evil men. She used Van Houten's prison records to claim that the murderer was allowed to have a 15-year sexual letter relationship with another double homicide individual in another state. The identity of this double murderer is unknown, but it is also unknown if this information was what caused the governor at the time, Jerry Brown, to deny the parole request. with Judge William Ryan upholding this ruling in October of 2016, with both of these men deeming Van Houten was still a threat to society. Now, as to the availability of these supposed letters, the letters the unidentified double murderer sent to Van Houten most likely remain in her possession, and again, she is now a free woman. Now, because of their personal nature, it is unlikely that Van Houten will ever publicly release them, and meanwhile, the location and fate of the letters Van Houten wrote to the unidentified individual remains unknown. All that we supposedly do know is that the letters were sexual in nature, and that the double murderer had apparently died sometime prior to the 2016 parole hearing. While I do think that at some point, either one, if Van Houten needs money and therefore will possibly sell her letters, I don't think we'll ever find the letters she sent, as they've probably been discarded whenever this convicted double murderer, died. I just find this one interesting because not only was apparently Ms. Van Houten the object of a hybreustophiliac, that being someone who is attracted to serial killers. Again, I'm not really going into any of the details of her case. Many YouTubers have already done that far better than I could ever do, but it seems she herself, not only being a murderer, also was potentially a hybreustophiliac. I don't know if the murderer she was supposedly talking to counts, as it was only 2. I do believe you need 3 to be a serial killer, but I do think it is interesting that 2 evil people such as this could be attracted to one another, and it worries me what kind of, if evil finds evil, what that could release. And again, she's out amongst the public now. She's not even that old. She's like 74, so certainly not some kindly old lady. Personally, in my opinion, allegedly don't think she's probably all that reformed. I certainly wouldn't want to be alone in a room with her. And guys, that is our video. Of course, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Check the links, buy a mini, join the Patreon, and be sure to come back for our next episode. Again, still trying to get to that 500 subscriber count. Until next time, everybody, I hope that you alpha great day and an even beta tomorrow. Bye-bye.